Right, welcome to the Doctor Who 50th Anniversary Specials Review. Now, like I'm going to mention now, we are covering 4 episodes / programs of Doctor Who. Those are Name of the Doctor, Day of the Doctor, Time of the Doctor, and An Adventure in Space and Time, the biographical, kind of 50th anniversary special film about the making of the original Doctor. It's a docudrama about how the first Doctor Who was made. Basically, that's all you need to. No. So that's what we'll be covering, and now we'll be looking at Name of the Doctor. Now, the Name of the Doctor has Richard E. Grant reprising his role as Dr. Simeon is actually the Great Intelligence from the Snowmen, but he is actually the Greatest Intelligence. He's not Dr. Simeon, which is, there you go. This also has a lot of Easter eggs where we see shots of Doctors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We also see 9 in one part towards the end of the episode, so there is that. But we don't see 8, and we don't see 10. But we do hear. I think we do hear 10, but we don't see 10. But yeah, and obviously it's just, what I'm saying is this episode is genuinely fantastic. It's a really damn good episode. Now, a lot of people don't like it because it changes, because it definitely is one of those ones that changes the rest of Doctor Who for a while. Which definitely, when you want to talk about episodes that change all of Doctor Who, we'll get to that at the very end of Series 12, if you know exactly what I'm fucking talking about. But with this episode, I just really liked. I'd love to see the Paternoster Gang back again. Like I said, the Paternoster Gang are fucking fantastic. Drax, Madame Vastra, and Jenny Flint, absolutely fantastic. You see the 3 of them. It's funny to see Drax discovering Scotland, which is funny because the way I see it, Jenny says, "Oh, he's on holiday," and then Vastra says, "Oh, I wish he never discovered that place." And then when it cuts to him in Scotland, I think to myself, in other words, Drax discovered Scotland. Which is the funniest shit in the world, because it does make sense, don't you think? But yeah, it is funny to see Drax in Scotland fighting and stuff, and sure, the plot line of Clara moving into the Doctor's timeline, so I think it's a really just well done episode. It is cool to see Clara weaving through the Doctor's timeline to find out truly who Clara is in this and that moment. And it's just an episode that I think, like I said, as it's part of the 5th anniversary specials, it's got an interesting structure to it. Obviously, River, expect to see Madame Vastra and River interacting, even for the brief moments that it was fucking awesome. Because those two characters are characters I've wanted to see interact for a very long ass fucking time. So yeah. But yeah, like I said, it's just a fantastic episode all round. I thoroughly enjoy it, and I think that as an entrance to the 5th anniversary specials, it's really just a great starting point. I think, like I said, to see the Paternoster Gang back again, it's fantastic to see, the Trenzalore and the Grave situation. That's quite a cool concept. Thinking that, and obviously what I love is the concept of when the Doctor dies, his grave is the TARDIS. But not only that, but the fact that the big on the inside concept just blasts in on itself, and the TARDIS becomes the size it actually is, and that's really a sick ass concept, and it's brilliant. And as much as it is cool to see the Doctor's grave, it is one of those episodes that almost morbidly dark. And of course, we have to talk specifically quite much about the ending that sets up Day of the Doctor very nicely, and that is obviously the introduction of your boy. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. That's very disrespectful to the man he is, but to the legendary, late, great actor that is John Hurt portraying the War Doctor, but obviously in this episode he's not called the War Doctor. I don't think he genuinely is called the War Doctor in the show, but what he is called is the Doctor, but then he's also not called the Doctor, he's the War Doctor. It's really complicated. He's the Doctor that doesn't go by the Doctor until the end of the Day of the Doctor, but we'll see. But yeah, that's the ending of this episode, where Clara sees all of his faces except for that one. And it is very widely known. I'm like 90% sure that the reason why the War Doctor exists for that special is because Eccleston refused to come back to the 50th, so they had to write something to have 3 Doctors in the story. And instead of, I don't know, getting Paul McGann back as the 8th Doctor and saying the 9th Doctor stuck in a time loop or something like that, or you know, something like that, they just decided to write another Doctor in. Which, to be fair, if it was all based on having John Hurt, then fair dues. You're not going to write John Hurt as the 12th Doctor when you already have Peter Capaldi, although it would have been cool to see John Hurt as the 12th Doctor. But nonetheless, that is awesome to see John Hurt as that Doctor. I think, again, Murray Gold's music here is fantastic, especially towards the end. I have to look up what that damn track is, bro. My toes and have a bow. I want to. But yeah, like I said, I think it does reach a certain point where it definitely elevates. This episode is the episode where the 11th Doctor shell, the 11th Doctor's shell is broken. The wibbly wobbly timey wimey man, the happy-go-lucky mad man in a box, is broken to the man that he really is on the inside, the 11,000-year-old Time Lord who, you know, if you get on the wrong side of him, you learn it that way. And that's what I think makes this episode, an interesting one, because I think it's one of the few episodes where you don't see both sides at the same time, and you don't just see the madman in the box side of him, you only see the Time Lord side of him. And I think that's what makes this episode extra special, in that, like I said, you see that version of the 11th Doctor you only see when you mess with him or when things go wrong and stuff like that. And the heart, you see the heart of the 11th Doctor right there. You see the 11,000-year-old, whatever he is, Time Lord that's seen all the stars everywhere in space and time. And I think that's what, like I said, really puts this episode on that pedestal of incredible study of the 11th Doctor, because, like I said, it just portrays him as a very different man to who he is portrayed for most of the time. There are glimmers of him being not the psychopath, but the oncoming storm, as they were called, the Valeyard, as you might say, that version of the Doctor. Not particularly Valeyard, more the oncoming storm. There's some elements of that in the 11th Doctor, but the 11th Doctor has more of a facade than the 10th Doctor ever did. They both almost had the same level of facade, but I think if you brought the facade down on 11, you'd be in for a lot more hell on Earth than you would be if you did on. But that's for you to decide whether you think it or not. Like I said, it's great to see Clara, my favourite New Who companion. She's just fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and she's really put to the test here. And I think, yeah. I do recall forgetting to mention in Nightmare in Silver that Matt Smith's acting skills portraying two different things with the face thing was really sick. So I'm going to just mention that here. Matt Smith's acting skills in Nightmare in Silver was really sick, portraying two different people with the cyber intelligence, which was sick. So I'm just going to mention that here. That's that. But like I said, it does show Matt Smith as an actor who really is talented, and I'm glad that, you know, he was discovered more after Doctor Who, and that he's more recognisable now as someone other than the Doctor. But yeah, what can I say other than this has been a fantastical meme-filled journey? No, it's not, but it's been this is obviously the start of the special 5th anniversary collection, as it's widely known as, or the Blu-ray I've got back there, the 5th anniversary specials, obviously, which contains name, day, and time of the Doctor, plus an adventure in space and time. So look forward to it. I am very much specifically looking forward to Adventure in Space and Time, because it's really my first outing as for Classic Who, and I probably will upload the Adventure in Space and Time review separately on the channel as well as embedded in the other one, so I will talk about that when we get closer to that review. But, and it's a massive fucking buttock no. But yeah, this has been my review of Doctor Who 50th Anniversary Specials, Episode 1, The Name of the Doctor. Coming up now to my review of Doctor Who 50th Anniversary Specials, Episode 2, The Day of the Doctor. It's a big one, so stay tuned. And yeah, if you're watching the complete edition, that's gonna... I should shut up, I only mentioned that at the beginning and the end. Well, no, the end actually, but yeah. And you right over now to me talking about the Day of the Doctor. And I guarantee you, well, this one is 11 minutes long. I think that one may reach 20 minutes long. But we'll see, because to talk about Day of the Doctor is a big thing for me. But yeah, now it's time for my review of Doctor Who, the 5th Anniversary Specials, Episode 2, The Day of the Doctor. Right, hello, welcome to, welcome, just, bad start, let me refresh. This is the Doctor Who 5th Anniversary Specials, Episode 2, The Day of the Doctor. Now, I mentioned this previously, but we're going to be here for a while talking about the Day of the Doctor because, well, it's a very special episode for me. It's 77 minutes long. It's really... There's a few things to mention, obviously. The references to all the previous Doctors. We see all the previous Doctors. All that lovely stuff. And there's a lot of musical references to the past, which is sick. And notably, quite a large use of the Doctor's theme from series 1 through 4. Which is kind of sick. Obviously, I feel like Murray Gold used this opportunity to bring back as much music as possible, at the same time also bringing a lot of new stuff to it, which he did do. But obviously there's also the return of the track called Unit, which was used in series 1, 2, was on the series 1, 2 soundtrack, and was remixed for series 4 for the track Unit Works, which I think I did use in my series 4 review, not 100% sure. But yeah, I just think this episode it's really special to me, because it was one of the earliest episodes of Who I ever saw. And as a 50th anniversary special, as a big fuck off tribute to the entire 50-year heritage of the show, it does an absolutely fantastic job of showing. Obviously, it is the episode that reintroduces the Zygons to New Who. They haven't been seen before. So it's an interesting episode to be reintroduced in, as they hadn't been, in any previous New Who episode. No Zygons. This is the first episode to be introduced to them. So series 7, technically, two old new villains brought back: the Zygons and the Ice Warriors. Now, like I said, Murray Gold's music is fantastic. Really, with this episode, what it really is about, there's a lot of Easter eggs on the board in the Black Archives, but I also like to see 10 again. It's fantastic to see Billie Piper playing a role. It's not exactly Rose, and it's not the Bad Wolf either. It's the conscience of the moment, disguised as Rose Tyler. So there is that. But it's cool to see the generals and all that. It's just an episode for me that is just so much sentiment and value. It's clear to me from the very get-go that they had a much bigger budget for this episode and this episode alone than any previous episode that New Who has even had, and to an extent maybe even some of the stuff after this episode, because this episode had it's obvious this episode had a fucking massive budget, which makes sense because it's the 50th anniversary special. So that definitely does lead us into, hoping that the 6th anniversary special, if it does happen, gets the same budget. But this is obviously a very big episode for this series. It was very much heavily pushed around the time. It was one of the 3 episodes of Doctor Who that you could, in fact, see in a movie theatre / cinema as it was shown. And I am, not gonna lie, a little bit disappointed I never got to see it in a cinema, because that would have just been fucking sick. Obviously premiering a year after Skyfall. But yeah, it's a great tale. It's very well set up at the end of the previous episode, the name of the Doctor. And while there is no Madame Vastra or Strax or Jenny, there is Clara, there is the Moment, there is the War Doctor, which I probably should talk about sooner rather than later. But, I think obviously seeing 10 back again was really sick. Seeing 10 and 11 interact is just one of the best moments of this episode, to see both 10 and 11 really. It's clear these two gentlemen are clearly, some sort of friends and stuff, and they understand each other, I suppose, to an extent. Both having been somewhat unknowns for being cast in Doctor Who, which, catapulted David Tennant to the position he's in today. And obviously David Tennant meeting his wife on the show, who happened to be the daughter of the 5th Doctor, so I suppose Doctor Who really is in the family. But for them at least, and I'm sure all of Tennant's children will watch that show a fuck ton. But yeah, it's a great tribute to the show's past. We see Daleks, we see Zygons, we see, with the ending where you see all the Doctors, what that actually is that is real people that have essentially had the real actors' faces deep faked onto them. Some of them look more convincing than others. I think the one that looks the most unconvincing when you look at that is actually 9, to be quite frank, not gonna lie. But yeah, as a 5th anniversary special, it knocks it out of the motherfucking park. The whole subplot with the 10th Doctor and Queen Elizabeth, and that in itself is actually resolving something for the 10th Doctor era, which is quite an interesting move, because it was mentioned quite a few times that the 10th Doctor and Queen Elizabeth I, had a relationship, and she was no longer the good Queen Elizabeth anymore. And obviously this is where that stems from. We finally get that resolved. Kinda sick, not gonna lie. And obviously I think one of the most intriguing moments that we just nearly missed out on, but we obviously had the ending. Just thinking about that scene, the final scene where the curator, played by the great Tom Baker, who, if you don't know, played the 4th Doctor, the longest reigning Doctor of any era of the show. Tom Baker, who portrayed the 4th Doctor between 1974 and 1981, and I think he was definitely someone who was the mind of, I don't want to go. So seeing him in the same room, in the same scene as the 10th Doctor, would have been muy bueno. But that obviously didn't happen. But I think it is a fantastic little role for Tom Baker, with his famous, undoubtedly recognisable voice. And I was just thinking that, obviously, in that scene, it's just 11 and the curator, so the amount of, pressure and anxiety that must have been going through Matt Smith as a person when he had to perform a scene with the great Tom Baker, especially in Doctor Who. He must have been, incredibly high on him, and for him to still be able to be himself, be himself and be his character in that scene is fucking fantastic. So you give the man props. But I do love that scene, and I think the best line that the creator ever gives is when the 11th Doctor is talking about, I could retire and be the creator of this place, and then the creator just goes, I really think you might. And I think that's just really fantastic. That's such a cool line of the way to get it across specifically. And I think, another thing to mention is Ten Werner Fez. Does Ten Werner Fez, it's kind of just, yeah, really, at the end of the day. I mean, it's cool to see the Zygons back, who are Fourth Doctor enemy, returning here in the series. They do play a bigger part in the 12th Doctor's era of episodes, but, yeah. It's just, what can I say, it genuinely is a fucking fantastic episode, and, it's just there. It is genuinely there, and I think, for me, it's a very important part of my life as a so-called Whovian, I suppose. For being the first episode I viewed, it definitely left a mark on me, and it's probably the episode is the reason why I'm here, doing this now. I have it on DVD, I have it on Blu-ray, I have the 5th anniversary steelbook, I have a poster of the 13th Doctor and the Family. I've got books, I've got annuals, I've got the 5th anniversary handbook, I've got a couple of issues, I've got like 10 issues of the Doctor Who magazine upstairs, I've got a Doctor Who comic book, I've got a fucking model of the TARDIS, I used to have the 9th Doctor Sonic Screwdriver, I used to have the 11th Doctor Sonic Screwdriver. I have the Series 12 soundtrack, I have the 50th anniversary soundtrack on CD. I had a copy of The End of Time and The 11th Hour on DVD. This show means so much to me and so many other people, and obviously the series that I watched the most, the first full series I was there every week when it was on TV, was Series 8 and 9. I remember them very fondly, but that doesn't mean I don't have an appreciation for everyone who came before and everyone who will come after. Whether it's 5, 7, 11, 12, 2, 7, 6, 4, whoever is your favourite Doctor, it doesn't matter, because every one of them is the Doctor. And while some may be preferred by others, and some be hello underrated, 6. By the way, I'm looking at you 6 on that one. But they're all still a Doctor, and they all still played a part in someone's childhood. And whenever you ask someone who's their favourite Doctor, or whenever I find myself watching reviews of people, they always say the Doctor that they grew up with, their Doctor. And although it wasn't, most people say that, and although for me, the Doctor I almost certainly will be, say I grew up with, would be 11, would be 12 and 13, I think 11 has left the most marks on me as a person, and so has 12 to an extent, and so has 13, all three of them, but I think 11 and 13 the most have left the most impressions on me, and definitely life lessons to go forward. And I don't care if you think it's a silly old show, it's a silly old show that's been going for 50 years now, and I'm sure there are very few TV shows in the world that have gone for that long with that many fans. So you can say whatever the fuck you want, but for the last nearly 60 years now, this show has entertained countless thousands of people around the world, and it's not going away anytime soon. And stuff like this, and even now, where the show, albeit it's not nice to admit, but it's definitely reached a low point in terms of its popularity and viewership figures, it's still going, and the BBC have clearly showed the signs of, we're not going to get rid of it just yet. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, because not only is it a cultural icon, not only is it a British icon, but it's also a fucking moneymaker. But you know what I mean, first and foremost, there's exhibitions held around the world. Comic-Con, the Doctor Who had their own panel, anyone who even has any relationship to the show is always remembered for their part in the show, and frequently return, any cast members have done before, especially in the 9th and 10th Doctor era, and it'll be exciting to see who does and doesn't come back for the 60th anniversary. It would be sick to see Amy again. It would be, I think the 60th anniversary should be a culmination of everything that New Who has accomplished so far, to see everyone come back in some way, shape or form. Every companion, we're talking 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and potentially 14, Rose, Martha, Donna, Amy, Clara, and then obviously Bill, Yaz, Graham, Ryan, all of these people come back in some way, shape or form, and they're co-conspirators as well. Captain Jack, Mickey, Jackie, Wilfred, Brian Williams, Martha's parents if necessary, you know, River, you know, all these people, Nardal, the Paternoster gang, Madame Vastra, Strax, Jenny Flynn, everyone, and everything that New Who has built up to this point should be displayed and showcased in the 60th anniversary special. And I ideally hope that's what will happen. But for the 50th anniversary special, it definitely did showcase everything that this show has produced in that 50-year time gap that it had shown us. It showed everything it had done up to that point and more. It showed us what the future is going to look like, and it showed us what the past already looked like, you know. We saw the first glimpse of the 12th Doctor in this episode, and the immediate first thing we see, it wasn't that grumpy smile, it wasn't that grey-eyed hair, it wasn't that flammados and pizzazz, it was those attack eyebrows. The one thing that I think 12 is most known for. But, you know, this show is important to everyone, and I think the 50th anniversary showed that to the most nth degree, that it is important, and it always will be important to so many people. It's crossed so many mediums, it's crossed so many countries and so many people's faces, minds and hearts, that it will live on forever. And there's no doubt in that. Long after some people and a lot of people involved in it are there, and I think I was watching the trailer for the 50th anniversary special because I was having to get it to download it, and I read a comment saying, if only Bill Hartnell could see the trailer, to see the 50th anniversary special, and see that the legacy he started, you know, has led up to that point, you know. And I think that's something to really take away from it. I'm sure Bill Hartnell is smiling, looking down on the 5th anniversary special and the future as well, for something that he started. And there is no doubt in anyone's mind, we would not be here if it wasn't for Bill Hartnell, and we certainly would not be here if it wasn't for Pat Troughton. That's a known fact. If Patrick Troughton hadn't taken over the role of the Second Doctor and captivated people immediately, I don't think there would be a Doctor Who still sounding today. I don't think there would be 50 years of this television show if it wasn't for Pat Troughton being as good as he fucking was. I don't think we'd be waiting for the 13th season, and I don't think we'd be waiting to find out who the 14th Doctor is if it wasn't for Patrick Troughton, and if it wasn't for the dedication of all the fans and people, and even people who, you know, spend their life looking for the missing episodes, which is a fantastic thing. There's so many great documentaries about that out there. Josh Snares is a great channel if you want to know about missing Doctor Who stuff. If you want to know about the history of Doctor Who, Clever Dick Films does fantastic documentaries. I think the BBC genuinely should put his documentaries on the disc as a bonus feature. They are that fucking good that the BBC don't need to make any more documentaries. The BBC don't need to make documentaries about their Doctor Who people, because someone's already done it for them to the level of television stuff, and I think they should broadcast around the world on television. But yeah, that's my opinion. And all I can say is that everyone remembers their first episode of this show, and for some it was a classic 70s or 60s episode, for some it was more modern stuff like Rose. For me, it will be Day of the Doctor, and doesn't mean I never watched any classic Who. I remember watching several different episodes of classic Who, including The Green Death, a Third Doctor episode. I remember the episode, I don't know what it's called, but there's a 5th Doctor episode with a snake and mirrors. I remember that episode very vividly. I remember Logopolis actually quite well as well, but those are a few stories I watched. I have restarted watching Classic Who because that's something I've said to myself I want to have done by the end of 2021, is to watch all of Classic Who from 1963 to 89 and the 1996 TV movie. I already watched the 1996 TV movie because I couldn't wait that fucking long, and I watched it on New Year's, so that's something that I'm definitely going to be reviewing soon as well. But yeah, this has been, you know, a bit of a deep dive into my opinions of the show, and obviously my review of Doctor Who, the Day of the Doctor special for the 50th anniversary. And so yeah, it's just a special that means a lot to me, and also I've expressed that opinion here today. And you know, I've gone through the list of Doctor Who related stuff I own in my house. I've got so much of it. I've got character encyclopedias, annuals, guidebooks. I've got a model of the TARDIS. I had the 11th Doctor screwdriver. I had the 9th Doctor screwdriver. I'm not going to do it again, but that's just a few things to mention. I have a doll of the 13th Doctor, which I think is one of the more important ones, because I think whatever the future holds for the show, everyone will be there to see it. Even those people that just blindly hate the show for what it is now, or those people who genuinely have constructive criticism of the modern version of the show, no matter what you say about it, people will always be there to see what happens next. So there'll always be the haters and there'll always be the praisers, and that's a key part of a show. So, you know, for it all to be there and fall into place as well as it did, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic story of stuff, and obviously An Adventure in Space and Time portrays that story absolutely perfectly, and we will get to that. Trust me, we will get to that very, very soon. But yeah, this has been my review of Doctor Who, the 50th Anniversary Specials, Episode 2, The Day of the Doctor. Coming up now is my review of Doctor Who, 50th Anniversary Specials, Episode 3, The Time of the Doctor. Right, so Doctor Who, the 50th Anniversary Specials, Episode 3 or 4, The Time of the Doctor. Now, this episode is all about So Long 11 and Hello 12. As the track, well, the track starts with Hello 12 that you're hearing right now. But it's a fantastic episode, a brilliant almost tribute to the 11th Doctor, and his finale speech at the end of So Long As You Remember All of the People You Used to Be is one of the best. While the 12th Doctor was definitely the master at giving speeches, and so even 11 did some fantastic speeches, it was very sad to see 11 go, because like I said, he's my favourite Doctor. So to move forward into the 12th Doctor era, it wasn't as exciting as the change from 10 to 11 was, I'm not going to lie, because the change from 10 to 11, and when I'm saying this in context of not as when it happened, but as when I was watching it back, obviously knowing what 10 would be, what 11 would be, and what 12 would be in the future. For me, to change 10 to 11 was one of joy, excitement. Well, it's still a bit of sadness to an extent as well, because obviously 10 was a very big and important Doctor, but for me, the changeover from 11 to 12 was a lot sadder for me. Still excited to see what's happened, but for me, you know, 11 being my personal favourite Doctor, it was one that was always going to be so difficult to get right, and I think they did the best they could here with this episode. And it's really just one of those episodes that is absolutely fantastic. Him defending the town of Christmas, Trenzalore, you know, him growing old and stuff. It's a fantastic tale of awesomeness, of fantastic, of a man doing what he's always done, protecting people. And obviously the stalemate thing was fantastically funny. Obviously, a lot of people note that at this point, with everything Moffat had done in The Day of the Doctor, he had written himself into a massive corner, because obviously we know that the Doctor, it's been known for a while, the Doctor has 12 regenerations, and obviously the Varyard is in between the 11th and final incarnation. But away from the Varyard, I don't know why I brought that. But it was always known that the Doctor had 12 incarnations. Now, obviously, that sounds like, well, why is that a problem when 11 regenerates, when, you know, that would be 12? But as we do know, 11 is in fact 12, because the War Doctor exists. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That they're all who they are. But in actuality, the 9th Doctor is actually the War Doctor, the 9th Doctor is actually the 10th Doctor, the 10th Doctor is actually the 11th Doctor, the 11th Doctor is actually the 12th Doctor, and the 13th Doctor, the 11th Doctor is actually the 12th Doctor, the 12th Doctor is actually the 13th Doctor, and the 13th Doctor is actually the 14th Doctor. So as we know, that means that and you put that into account, and also the fact that 10 regenerated twice, that makes it the end for 11. That's how the Doctor should have died on Trenzalore. But as this is a show that keeps on continuing, and Stephen Moffat had written himself into a interesting corner. But it turned out to be a corner that was that probably lent one of the best ideas. To get the whole concept of one of the first things that the 11th Doctor saw was what essentially saved him, and that was the cracks in time. The crack in time was the Time Lords. For a moment, I know. And they gave him another life, Now, I always thought when it said a whole new regeneration cycle, that meant 12 more regenerations. But then when you see 12 do the speech at the end of Twice Upon a Time, and I think, but I guess, I suppose it is, because that story was all about both of them refusing to regenerate. Both of them were going to regenerate, so that's more about... I am right, because that story was more about both of them refusing to regenerate. I'm a big brain. Anyway, aside from that, I just think it's a genuinely brilliant episode. One of the best... Not one of the best, but I still... You know what? It's really hard to place these episodes in what I feel like is my personal opinion of them, but I think... Just thinking of the journey the 11th Doctor has been through his time, from that very first moment where he looked out the TARDIS, and he stared into the face of little Amelia Pond, all the way through to that final moment where he slides the bow tie off, drops it on the floor, and just smiles. And within a second, and a lift up of the head, 11 was gone, and 12 was born. Obviously, though, 12 was set up a bit more than, say, others, because 12 was seen in Day of the Doctor, so they obviously knew who it was going to be at that point. So, I think the world did as well. No shit. But yeah, I think it was a fitting tribute and a fitting end to a Doctor that definitely, from the get-go, not only in general, but in the public eye and outside of the TV show in general, faced very much an uphill battle. And I know that, obviously becoming directly after the 10th Doctor was a very big thing that the 12th Doctor had to live with, like in terms of in the media, not in the TV show we're talking about here, not in the context of the show, but outside of it, because not only was the 10th Doctor a fan favourite, it was also a public favourite in a way. So replacing the 10th Doctor would have been a very hard challenge, and obviously we know that the 11th Doctor smashed that. And to be fair, when looking back on it, a lot of people said that the end of the 11th Doctor was just as emotional and sad for them as the end of the 10th Doctor, because I think the 11th Doctor proved that the 10th Doctor wasn't a one-off, I think. And I think that's purely because the 9th Doctor was so short in his existence that the next Doctor was always, after 9, was always going to be more impactful than 9 ever was, and why 9 is very much the not forgotten, but just when you think of the Doctors, you go for Tom Baker, David Tennant, John Pertwee, Patrick Troughton, Peter Davison maybe. You don't really say people like Paul McGann or Christopher Eccleston or Colin Baker. They're not the forgotten ones, and they're not the bottom of the pile either. They are the uncommon ones, the different ones, the special ones, the ones that I think people should treat with a lot more care, because I think if you delve deep into them, you'll find something quite interesting. And I know a lot of people agree in the fact that Christopher Eccleston is one of, if not the most underrated Doctors. But I think there's another Doctor that's even more underrated than the 9th Doctor, and I think you very much know where this is going. And I haven't seen it. Actually, I've not seen any of this Doctor story, but I believe from the clips I've seen, from the stories I've heard and stuff, that I think the 6th Doctor is a very underrated Doctor. Now, I'm yet to experience a 6th Doctor story, so I can't wait to experience it. And I think Colin Baker's a terrific actor, so I can't wait to experience the 6th Doctor stories, which should be fun. But back to this thing, I think, like I said, Matt Smith and the 11th Doctor proved that the 10th Doctor wasn't a one-off. He's not going to be, although he is still the most remembered of the modern Doctors, and people think, oh, he must have stayed really long on like Tom Baker, when in reality, when you compare all the other modern Doctors altogether, the only odd one out at the moment is 9, because David Tennant, 3 seasons, three different series, series 2, 3 and 4, the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, 5, 6 and 7, the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi, 8, 9 and 10, the 13th Doctor, 11, 12 and 13, and the 14th Doctor will probably be 14, 15 and 16, but who knows, that's the thing. So yeah, that's just my thoughts and feels on that. I think Time of the Doctor is a fucking fantastic episode. It's a great farewell to my favourite Doctor. It will always be the best Doctor in my opinion. I think he's left that legacy of, after the serious and quite mopey at times 10th Doctor, who can still be very much a laugh. I think the best way to really describe the 11th Doctor, without a doubt, I think I'm going to leave you on this final sentence that is the way I best describe the 11th Doctor. And that is, of course, the man with the box. So yeah, this has been my review of Doctor Who, the 5th anniversary specials, The Time of the Doctor, which is episode 3 or 4. And obviously, I'm recording this at 11:30 at night on the 9th of August. I was originally hoping to get this video up by today, but obviously that's not going to happen, and I still have to watch An Adventure in Space and Time. So I look forward to that. Coming right now is my review of Doctor Who, the 5th anniversary specials, episode 4, An Adventure in Space and Time, which, by the way, will be uploaded as a separate review, as well as being part of the 5th anniversary specials video and the Series 7 complete video. That's going to be mad. But yeah, bye-bye. And not bye-bye, but yeah, I'll hand you over to myself for An Adventure in Space and Time. Right, so welcome to Doctor Who, the 5th anniversary specials, episode 4, An Adventure in Space and Time. Now, right off the bat, I think what we need to talk about with this episode, with this specific TV movie, is the cast. Now, obviously, we have David Bradley as William Hartnell. Let's get this straight, that the character, obviously, David Bradley appears, he's already appeared in Dinosaurs in a Spaceship in Series 7 as Solomon. He appears here in Adventure in Space and Time, and he also appears in Twice Upon a Time. But, to get it straight, in An Adventure in Space and Time, he is portraying the actor William Hartnell. In Twice Upon a Time, he is portraying the character of the First Doctor. They are two very different characters, very different things he's portraying. The same man, but one of them is the man, the other one is the man portraying a character in some aspects, but mostly the man. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, in this, he's William Hartnell, but in Twice Upon a Time, he's actually the First Doctor. Obviously, other than your boy, David Bradley, we have Brian Cox as Sidney Newman. Great casting choice. And Brian Cox as Sidney Newman, which is a great choice. We have several other connections to Doctor Who in obviously Jessica Rahane, who we previously discussed, appeared in the episode Hyde from Series 7. And Sacha Dhawan as Waris Hussein, who hasn't appeared in an 11th Doctor episode. He will go on to, and already has appeared as the Master in the Series 12 episodes Spyfall Part 1 and Part 2, and the Timeless Children, and its other one. In the Series 12 episodes Spyfall Part 1, Spyfall Part 2, and the Ascension of the Cybermen, the Timeless Children. So, you know, there is that, and obviously another thing is that there's a couple of cameos here. You have William Russell, who portrayed Ian Chesterton, who appears as the guard of the entrance to the BBC, I suppose. But other than cast and crew and stuff like that, I think this is just a lovely tale. It's most certainly centered around Bill Hartnell and the tale of his journey from not liking the concept of Doctor Who to being very sad when he had to leave, all the way up to his death in 1975. Now, this is obviously very much a classic Who-based concept, no shit, but I think it definitely tells the story of the beginning of Doctor Who in a very, very good way. Like I said, obviously to see a lot of the people like Verity Lambert is a very important and influential producer in all of TV history, and likewise Delia Derbyshire is one of the most important modern composers of time, inventing electronic music with the Doctor Who theme. So to see both of them portrayed in this TV movie is absolutely fucking fantastic. Obviously the use of the old BBC building, which I'm not 100% sure if at the time of filming it was unused, or because obviously in 2013 the BBC disused that studios building and now moved into the new BBC studios, and obviously that's just previously known as the BBC HQ, which was in the news recently as of recording. People tried to storm the BBC studios but ended up storming the BBC HQ instead, which is, what can I say? But aside from that, the important fact here is that this is written by Mark Gatiss, who wrote many a Doctor episodes, and I think it has been known since that he has wanted to recreate and remake the episode Marco Polo with the cast and crew of this TV movie. Obviously that means, the cast and crew, but obviously David Bradley, who plays the first Doctor, and the actors and actresses portraying Susan, Barbara and Ian as well, so I think that would have been a cool concept, but unfortunately it's been 10 years since this was produced, nearly 10 years since this was produced, and I don't think that's gonna work. So if they'd have done it in maybe 2015, 2016, 2017, would have been alright, but I think as it's been too long since this was produced, all of these people have aged dramatically, and specifically what we're talking about is the actress who played Susan / Caroline Ann Ford would be probably too old to be portraying a teenager again. So yeah, but I just want to say that Adventure in Space and Time is a fantastic TV movie. And speaking of TV movies, there is the other TV movie associated to Doctor Who, the Doctor Who TV movie, but we'll get to that in due course. But like I said, I just really think this is a brilliant telling of the creation of Classic Who, and me being me, I've seen up to a certain point, and that's not all of the first Doctor yet. I've barely seen any of the first Doctor. The first season, I'm in the second season of the first Doctor at this moment. So seeing certain episodes, this is the first time I'd watched it since I'd seen stuff like An Unearthly Child, and then the other episodes that I brought up, like the Dalek Invasion of Earth and stuff like that. So seeing those episodes from behind the scenes, and obviously Marco Polo, which I haven't seen because it's not available, but I know I've seen stills and watched videos about it. So seeing those episodes portrayed in a behind the scenes format was really quite nice, and I think as a documentary it's fantastic. It's great to see composers Delia Derbyshire and Brian Hodgson portrayed in this thing very well as well. There's another deleted scene with them that's not used in this episode, but not used in this TV film, but as a whole I think the film is absolutely fucking fantastic, and I genuinely enjoy An Adventure in Space and Time for all that it is, and for me that's what makes it a nice and modest and interesting sort of extras thing for the 50th anniversary stuff. And obviously this one has music by Edmund Butt, which is actually a very good soundtrack for this TV episode. I would have loved to see Murray Gold do it, but to have someone different and new do composing for Doctor Who is pretty fucking sick. So yeah. Like I said, I think the tale of the creation of Doctor Who here is portrayed fantastically. All the cast do fantastic jobs. It's great to see I wouldn't describe it as breakdown, but the progression of Bill Hartnell and his time and tenure with the show, and his, I think one of the most interesting parts of it is this very much portrays everyone. Obviously he was there from the beginning, and everyone around him from the beginning of the show eventually left until to the point where towards the end of his tenure no one from the original cast and crew of the early show was there anymore, and I think that's what really affects him. You see it first, we see Susan leave, then it's Verity, then the other two leave, Barbara and Ian leave, and then you just see it progressively get worse and worse for Bill. Not worse, but sort of just progressively less people around him that know him very well, to the point where there's a scene where someone calls him Bill and he says, "Oh, that's Mr. Hartnell to you, sonny boy, and you can call me Bill once you get to know me a bit better, if you last that long on my show," which is interesting to say the least. But like I said, I just love to see that portrayal. I think everyone does a fantastic job of, you know, in this TV movie, and it's great to see Jessica Rahine and Sacha Dhawan opposite each other, two actors who have either been in a Doctor episode before this TV movie and after, in the case of Sacha, you know, so these two that have been in actual episodes of Doctor Who coming together into Adventure in Space and Time, albeit Sacha being in Doctor Who later on down the line. But obviously this was a production in 2013, and it's not widely available to singular. I mean, it is, but it isn't. You can buy the DVD, and obviously the 50th anniversary specials and all that. But yeah, I will be uploading this, just as I mentioned before we move on to the Series 7 complete, so I have to do that here in the specials as well, so that's going to take at least 10 minutes up. But I just want to mention that I will be in the description for this video. So if you're hearing this, there is 3 possible videos you could be hearing this in. 2 of which are going to be going up today on the 10th of August. The other, in fact, all 3 of them will be going up today on the 10th of August, hopefully. And those videos are the Doctor Who the 50th anniversary specials review, the Adventure in Space and Time singular review, where this video will be put up on its own, and the Doctor Who Series 7 complete edition review. So those are the 3 places you'll be able to hear this video that you're listening to right fucking now. But yeah, like I said, I really do enjoy Adventure in Space and Time. After first discovering it as a little thing written by Mark Gatiss, who's one of my favourite, you know, Doctor Who related people, I suppose, because he's acted and written in it. So he's my personal pick for the next showrunner, but I'd also like to see Kate Herron do it. I'm babbling on. But yeah, An Adventure in Space and Time is just a really great look into the making of a cultural icon, a incredible iconic show. And I was thinking to myself towards the end that as much as Bill Hartnell, if it weren't for Bill Hartnell, this show wouldn't exist at all. But I think when thinking about it, there is 2 people who this show wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Bill Hartnell for starting the legacy, and Pat Troughton for continuing it in only a Pat Troughton way. And by that I mean that, sure, Bill Hartnell started it all, and he definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for his fantastic portrayal and the episode The Daleks and all that. But the real one, not to doubt Mr. Hartnell because he's fucking incredible, but I think the real reason, not the real reason, but another reason as to why we're still here today, and probably a more important one, is that if Pat Troughton didn't absolutely nail being the 2nd Doctor and the whole concept of a generation, it was all on his shoulders. The future of the show was essentially lying on this man's shoulders, and what a man you chose to do that, can I say. And he does an absolutely fantastic job at, you know, making the show come forward and stuff. And to see him come back for, obviously he's one of the actors that's come back for the most episodes of Doctor Who, returning for the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, returning for the 3 Doctors in 1975, in 1973, the 5 Doctors in 1983, the 2 Doctors in 1987 or 6, I can't remember. And yeah, that's the last Doctor episode he appeared in before his death in 1987, I believe. Not 100% sure, I'm quite remember that. But yeah, let me just look this history up. But yeah, the man, he was awesome. But yeah, he returned. The 2 Doctors were in 1985, by the way. But yeah, before he returned to the show in 1985 before his death in March 1987. But yeah, anyway, back to the Series 7 lovely jubblies. We'll be talking about Series 7 as a whole here, which again you'll be hearing in all 3 parts. But yeah, Series 7, the complete review now. Or actually, no, I should probably do the 5th chapter, but first, we're going to cover the... Fudge off, please. Fudge off, bro! We're going to first cover the 5th anniversary specials and what I give them rankings-wise. So, the name of the Doctor, that's a solid 8, to be honest with you. The Day of the Doctor's a 10. I'm sorry, it has to be a 10. Time of the Doctor, that's a 9 as well. And I think Adventure in Space and Time is also a 9. Like I said, the 50th anniversary. Like I said, the 50th anniversary specials are a lot of fun. They're very enjoyable, and they represent a point in Doctor Who history that is very important. 50 years, and looking back on that now, nearly 10-year-old specials, and quickly approaching the 60th anniversary of this incredible show, I think it just lays to rest how culturally impactful this TV show is, without anyone really realising. For 60 years, people have been intrigued by this show, this character, and his friends, and I think that is important to remember. But away from that, the Series 7 complete review, complete all the episodes. So we've got Asylum of the Daleks. We won't be including Adventure in Space and Time, but we will be including Day and Time of the Doctor. But yeah, so Asylum of the Daleks, I said that was an 8. Dinosaurs in the Spaceship. I honestly am giving it a 7.5 because of Brian Williams. A Town Called Mercy, 7.5. Power of 3, 6. The Angels Take Manhattan, that's a very high 9. The Snowmen, that's definitely a 9 too, because I really enjoyed the episode. Like any episode with the Paternoster Gang is immediately a 9 by default. Bells of St. John, that's a 9 too, because I like that episode. The Rings of Akatan is a fucking 4. No, The Rings of Akatan is a fucking 5.5. Cold War, that's a 7.5. 7. Hyde, that's a fucking terrible 4. Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS, 8. The Crimson Horror, that's a fucking 10, by the way. Nightmare in Silver, that's a good solid 9. Obviously, Name of the Doctor, 9. Day of the Doctor, 10. Time of the Doctor, 9. But yeah. Yeah, this has been, if you're watching this has been the, obviously you'll be watching this in 3 different possible ways. If you're watching the Adventure in Space and Time review, you've just sat here for 15 minutes of me talking about Adventure in Space and Time. Hope you enjoyed that. If you're watching these 50th anniversary specials, you just see me talk about the 50th anniversary specials, and hope you enjoyed that. If you're watching the Series 7 Complete Edition, then you're a real one, because that's going to be over 2.5 hours long. But I do appreciate you people sticking in and around as much as possible. So like I said, there's 3 different ways you could be watching this visual video, so I appreciate everyone doing that. And yeah, thank you for watching the different videos this is in. This has been a lot of fun. Series 7 has been definitely the most specialist episode of the series to review, with all the separate parts and components to it. But thankfully there is nothing like that going forward, from my memory at least. Other than maybe the Series 9 thing where there's 2 Christmas specials, but that's nowhere near on the level of this. So, you know, away from that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. My name has been Jeff. No, it's not. And I look forward to getting back with the Series 8 review and the start of the 12th Doctor era coming very soon. So I'll, you know, for all 3 videos, this is going to be cue the outro. There's no singular doubt about it. So without further ado, for all 3 different videos, this is Series 7 Complete Edition review, the Adventure in Space and Time singular review, and the 50th anniversary specials. Without further ado, it's time to cue that outro. I had stole that from Theme Park Worldwide, but fuck you. Cue that outro.